The other possible issue we could have is a speed mismatch. So depending on the different speed modes we have, one side may be set to 10 megabit, the other side set to 100 megabit, and this of course is going to result in a mismatch. Now when this occurs, this could either occur again because of auto negotiation failing or because it's simply a mismatch based on configuration. In either case, you're going to have a very difficult time communicating if there's a speed mismatch between the two sides. So usually this results in the sides not able to talk at all when there's a speed mismatch here. So definitely, again, something to add to your troubleshooting repertoire to look for to make sure the devices are set to the proper speed on both sides of the link. The last thing I want to talk about here before we finish up this chapter is configuration issues. Now, again, you need to know what you have before you start. You need to have a hard copy of the configuration, save it in a text file, store it on a server of some kind. Of course, Cisco will always say TFTP server, and that's what I have in my slide presentation here. But I've already mentioned the recommendation as far as using something else besides a TFTP server. SCP or secure FTP server would certainly be a better way to do it. I mean, if I'm going to go through the process to show you how to do SSH, shouldn't I also go through the process of showing you how to store it on a secure FTP server? Well, that isn't part of the course, but certainly think about the capabilities of doing that when you're setting up your own network. All right, so make sure you verify your configuration changes before you save. Now, I went through the process of showing you my usual way of doing it, Control-Z, type WR, and it saves. You might want to make sure everything's correct and, perfect before you actually type the save command. If you're not totally sure about the configuration commands you just put in, it might be better to not save, just to verify first that everything's working properly, and then, of course, remember to save. Not saving your configuration creates what I call a time bomb. And I've done this. I did this to a customer at one point in time. I feel really bad about it, but it did happen to me. I went in, I was brought in as a consultant to fix a problem. I fixed the problem for him. Everything was working fine. We tested everything. It worked great. I walked out the door. 6 months later, they called me up and said, Steve, the same problem that happened 6 months ago has happened again today. And we don't know why, it was fixed fine when you came in, and now it's not, it showed up again, and we don't know why. I sat there on the phone scratching my head, wondering what happened. And the first thing I asked him was, well, did anything change in your network? They said, no, we didn't change anything in the network, but we had a power failure. And of course, as soon as they said that, I knew what I forgot to do. After I solved the problem for them and tested it, I forgot to save my configuration. So when a power failure hit and the box rebooted, it went back to the start of a config that didn't have my changes. The running config is in RAM. Everything it was running on for the last 6 months was what my changes had. And when it reverted back to the startup config, it was prior to my fixing all of the problems. So I had to go back out there and remember all the things I did to fix it, and took a bunch of my extra time. And of course, I told the customer what happened, and didn't end up billing them for my time. But I could have saved them a lot of aggregation and myself a lot of aggravation by remembering to save my configuration. So there's a lesson learned for you. Don't make the same mistake I made, and don't create a time bomb for yourself or for your customers by remembering to save your configuration. And to finish off this whole thing, we talked about password configuration issues. Make sure you protect your configuration and you don't store it in a place where somebody else that has malicious intent could get a hold of it. So store your configurations in a secure location. Make sure that you protect the passwords, protect your console password, your VTY connections via SSH, and you have a password for getting into your level 15, your privileged exec modes of your devices.